Emily, what's an entry-level UV printer? This is a question you guys have not stopped asking me ever since I added a UV printer to my shop over a year ago. Well, my friends, I've got a new toy in the shop and I think I finally have the answer for you, and we're about to unbox it. So are you ready? Let's go. Hey maker, Emily here, otherwise known as That Mom with the Laser and the brand ambassador for Eon Laser USA. And in this video, I'm basically here to tell you that if you invested in the EufyMake Kickstarter and you're having buyer's remorse or you're second guessing your purchase, stop. As somebody who's been running a print shop for over a year now, I am pretty confident in telling you that you made a good decision. Mark my words that many of you that invested in this campaign will be running very successful businesses a year from now. I'm talking six-figure, even multi-six-figure print shops. And believe me when I say that many of you are actually probably going to outgrow your first investment, or you're going to be running like a EufyMake farm to keep up with the demand in your business. I saw this happen back in 2020 in the laser engraving industry, and I wholeheartedly believe that we're about to see it happen again in the UV printing space. I'm not kidding when I tell you that as soon as I added printed items to my laser business, you guys did not stop asking me, hey Emily, what's a more affordable plug and play, easy option to get started in the UV printing space? And to be honest, the answer was just no. Like, you guys were asking me for a unicorn. It did not exist because nothing out there was beginner friendly, easy to use, or in this price point. I mean, sure, there are inexpensive printers out there, but they usually come with a lot of tinkering and a lot of headaches. You basically end up paying in pain. For those of you in the laser world, think of it this way. The EufyMake is the equivalent of the Glowforge, okay, which opened thousands of doors for people, all right? And those inexpensive printers are like those off-the-market lasers that you get that are notoriously known for having, well, not the best customer service and a lot of issues. This, however, is totally different. So if you're having buyer's remorse or second-guessing your purchase, or if you're trying to decide whether or not you want to get one, I'm here to tell you I think that this is a smart move, especially if you want to dip your toe into the ink, so to speak, without the kind of commitment that typically comes with it. Now, I'm not here to tell you that this thing is going to print money, okay? The opportunity, that's in your hands, and what you do with it is up to you, okay? What I am saying is that this machine, okay, is going to open up the doors for so many people into a very lucrative industry that otherwise would never be able to step into this space. I hope that makes sense. And even if you're not looking to build a huge business out of this, I think that this printer is perfect for the professional crafter, okay? Maybe the serious side hustler who just wants to see what it's all about. I don't think it's a bad investment at all. Now let's be real. This is by no means a production grade printer, all right? A $3,000 machine is gonna have limitations compared to a $30,000 one, okay? But guess what? This is not who that video is for. This is for the people who want something that's affordable, easy, not intimidating, and truly plug and play. We finally have a crafter's UV printer, and I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a good one to get started with. I know you've probably already seen a ton of unboxing videos and you're totally over those, but you cannot strip me of my own unboxing experience. So I did record the unboxing, but I'm gonna save that for the later half of the video. If you don't wanna see the front half, then just, use the timestamps to fast forward. But what I wanna do is share with you the reasons why I like this machine, especially coming from somebody who actually does have experience running a print shop and knows what to look for and what to ask and can notice what's there and what's not. So I'm going to share with you a list of things that stand out to me and things that I've just noticed and appreciate and genuinely feel that you guys will too. A couple of things though before we get started, I do want to thank EufyMake for sponsoring both this video and the equipment. I run a very busy shop and there's no way I would have been able to pull this off had they not provided me with the means to do so. And throughout the video, you're going to see me use jigs like these that I've been testing and perfecting, making sure the dimensions are correct, that the blanks fit in perfectly. I've taken that time to do it, and I'm gonna give them to you for free. Just click on the link below, and I'll send it right over to you. The only thing I ask in return is if you enjoy this video, okay, if I have earned your subscribe, please take the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button so you get notifications every time I have a new video. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about why I love the EufyMake. One of the reasons that I like it is because it's small, and I mean that in the best way. Like, not everybody wants to deal with a professional freight service and have to uncrate a big piece of equipment. Large equipment can be intimidating. This is small enough that you can carry it on your own. Now, when I unboxed it, I did ask a friend to help me because I didn't know what to expect and I did not want to risk dropping it. But since then, I have been able to carry it on my own, which means even if I wanted to take it to like a market or something, it's portable enough that I could totally pull it off. It's light, it fits in a craft room. I'm in a space that's about 8 by 10, and you see behind me, I've got my Mirror 5 and I've got my EufyMake right there. And this little bundle together, it's like a powerhouse business, okay? I would show you my room, but the other side of this camera is a hot mess. So I'm not going to show you that, but the space is about 8 by 10. And if you really want to see what a mess is behind my camera, you'll see it in the reflection of the EufyMake in the footage later on in this video. And if anybody knows how to hide that, let me know because it's driving me crazy. The second thing on my list is price point. And this may seem obvious, but let's call it out anyway, okay? An easy, user-friendly, plug and play, affordable UV printer did not exist until now. Sure, there are cheaper options, but like I shared with you, what you save, you potentially pay for in a lot of headaches, especially if you're someone who doesn't have either a business partner, a friend, or a spouse, for example, that is good at tinkering and can fix things when things go wrong. Okay, so what you save, you potentially pay for in tinkering and headaches and all that jazz. Speaking of bells and whistles, one of the first things that stood out to me was how shockingly modern this software is. I'm not kidding. If you've used UV printers, then you know that it kind of feels like you're stepping into a time machine. It's like 1997 called and wants its interface back. But the EufyMake Studio is modern, it's intuitive, it's easy to navigate. I don't feel like I'm constantly trying to hunt for features. Not to mention, they've also integrated AI into it. It is by far the most modern UV printing software I have seen. Not only does it have AI integration, but it can allow you to do 3D prints with the click of a button. This was a big thing. This stood out to me like, oh my gosh, because again, that is a skill in the UV printing world. Like, it's not something that you can just click and do, all right? You actually have to learn how to layer the different, colors, create that depth. It really is a skill that takes people time to learn. So the fact that I could just go into the software, click a button, okay, and it'll do it for me. Not only that, it'll give me a 3D like rendering of it so I can actually see what it's gonna look like. That was mind-blowing. So making texturized prints available to beginners with the click of a button to me is pretty awesome. Word of caution though, I know 3D textured prints is really cool, but that does make the print longer, okay? Just FYI. Okay, another really cool thing is how easy it is to swap out the attachments, okay? Swapping out attachments is always, it just feels like it's always a process no matter what kind of equipment you're using. Take the laser, for example. There's a ton of people, like, they get paralyzed by the thought of just, plugging in their rotary because it's a process. You have to, take out blades or take out your honeycomb tray in some scenarios. You have to plug it in. You have to level your item. You have to change the settings in the software. Like, there's a reason why people dream of having a dedicated rotary laser and a dedicated like cutting and engraving laser. The same is true with printing equipment. So when I saw how easy it was, here's the thing, okay? Not only can you just click in and out the different attachments, the software also automatically recognizes that you've changed the bed, and it provides you with instructions if that attachment, requires, a walkthrough. As a matter of fact, let me show you how easy it is to swap things out, and later on in the video, I'll show you how the software recognized it and, did all the settings and stuff for me. Like, thank you, EufyMake. Okay, so for example, right now I have the large flatbed in, so underneath here, I'm going to unlock it, and boom, I can pull this out. See, this little thing right here goes right in there. All right, so I just took that one out. So let's say I want to switch it out for the small bed. Just place it down like that, and boom, locked in place, done. Now here's the other easy part. Here's the rotary, for example. Again, it's got this little piece right here that's gonna slide right in there. Check it out. I'm gonna just pop it in. and lock it in, and done. And the software, it knows that I did that, and it's ready to, you know, ready to rumble with me as soon as I hop over to the computer. I mean, seriously, it doesn't get any easier than that. Oh, and while I'm here, let me show you how like attachments, even to the rotary, for example, they're magnetic. So I am seeing a theme here, just like my Eon laser, it's toolless. What? Yes, I love that. So these are like little magnetic pieces that you can add for the tumbler. I can show you that, guys, later. But for now, I'll just keep them connected right here on my laser so I don't lose them. So check this out. This is exactly what I mean. I just switched out to the rotary and I logged in, and this is the first thing I see. So it already auto-detected that I changed the attachment, which is kind of cool. And it's giving me instructions here on what to do, how to mount it in. It's showing me what I need to be, you know, aware of, the lever that I just put in. It's just so cool that it's already detecting that, right? I love that. All right. And now I can auto measure so that it gets the cup into focus, right? Into the right head height. So I'm going to click auto measure. We're going to select the cup that we have. It doesn't have a handle. Go to auto measure. And then it's going to start measuring right here. And, you know, I can see the percentage of, you know, how measured it is. Another reason is the camera. This is part of those bells and whistles that I was telling you about that even top grade equipment doesn't have. Like, they don't have cameras. They don't have AI integration. They also don't have an easy, you know, user-friendly interface. Oh my gosh, not to mention it has an app. Hello, like I can run this from my phone if I want to. As a matter of fact, Sarah, who works with me here at the shop, she runs it from her phone regularly. Like, that's pretty cool. As a matter of fact, you can go on vacation, and if you need to inject ink into your printer so that the print heads don't get clogged while it's not in use, like, you just log into your app, push inject ink, and voila, it's done. Like, again, first to the market. These things don't exist in this UV printing world yet. Bravo, EufyMake. As a matter of fact, let me show you how easy it is, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and go into the EufyMake Studio on my phone. Look at that. I mean, there's an app. Like, how cool is that? Okay, I'm gonna go to New Design, Upload Image. I'm gonna come over here to my history. I've got this one right here. Let's do this little baseball here. I've got, look, it already knows I have the mini flatbed in. So I'm gonna click on this little button right here. That's the snapshot, and watch. It's gonna go ahead. It's gonna get into focus. I did it all from my phone, okay? And it's gonna take a snapshot of the ceramic, you know, coaster. So let's get up close and personal here. You can see it's measuring it. You see the little red laser beams. It's not too shabby, my friends. That's pretty cool. And then if I look in the app, it's telling me what percentage, hold on, let me focus it here for you. What percentage is the snapshot, okay? Pretty cool. So there, it's done. Now I have the snapshot in my phone and I can take the image. Hello. It doesn't get any easier than that. And I can print from my phone. Pretty cool. Another reason I love it is the low maintenance that's involved with it. When I first added, you know, printed items into my shop, I was kind of shocked at how high maintenance the printers can be. Not to say that I didn't do my research. I knew what I was getting myself into, but you know, there's a whole other experience from like what you have read and what you're expecting and then actually living it and doing it. Coming from a laser background, my lasers are so low maintenance, like I don't have to do much with them. But the UV printers felt like I had like a little puppy around that was gonna, you know, destroy everything if I wasn't like on top of it. You know what I mean? The EufyMake doesn't eliminate maintenance, but it makes it way more manageable for somebody who is not running full-blown production all day long. Here you can, you know, not run the machine for several days and it's gonna be okay. I mean, heck, I even told you, like from the app, you can inject ink to it. I mean, it does have a self-cycling, you know, feature, which a lot of UV printers do, but there's still more that needs to be done beyond the self-cycling system or feature, okay? So from your app, you can be on vacation, you can inject ink and it's, you know, you're good to go. Like, that's cool and it's easy, and that's another big plus in my opinion. Then of course, there's also an added plus that you can print UV DTF stickers. You know, in many scenarios, you would need a whole other piece of equipment just dedicated for UV DTF stickers, but here you can experiment with all of that with the same machine. Again, I think that that's a really big plus. UV DTF stickers are really hot and very popular now. So the fact that you don't have to go and invest in another machine to do that, that's a plus for me. Then of course, I like what I see coming down the pipeline. Like they're offering metallics and they're gonna have a roll-to-roll sticker printer. And those are attachments or add-ons that you can add without having to learn a new software that still have all the bells and whistles that we've already talked about. So I think there's a lot of promise to come in the future as well. All right, that's enough talking for now. I want to go ahead and show you how all of these features work harmoniously together. So we're going to jump into a mini tutorial so I can show you everything that I'm talking about. And I hope that this opens your eyes to the value that they've packed into this desktop printer. Let's go. Very nicely packaged. That looks really nice. So we've got UV ink cartridge, labeled G, 3 whites. You're definitely go through white a ton. And a cleaning cartridge. The rotary. Go check that out. Little quick start guide. All of our little pieces. All right, we'll learn about that together. This, I will tell you guys, this is intriguing to me, the fact that it will self-level. I saw that when I was in a demo, so I'm excited to try this thing out. It's really light too, I gotta say. I'm used to rotaries being a little more heavy. Don't you just love cool tools? I like that this is all little. And this box is definitely heavy, so. All right, you like it, Woody? helps to have a friend to lift it up. All right, here we have it. Our desktop-friendly entry-level UV printer. Now, let's put it to work. All right, so they send a ton of stuff, so I am just trying to get organized and situated here. And these are actually used IKEA kitchen cabinets, or like a kitchen buffet table that I got off of OfferUp, and it's working out perfectly. So I'm just unboxing everything. It's nice that they send you a lot of sample kits. Like these are ceramic coasters, which, you know, this is nice. And I'm assuming it's because they also plan to be a blanks supplier. So sure, we'll make some of this stuff and see how we like it, you know. A lot of these things I already have sources from, but we'll see if they can switch my business, you know. Magnets, that's always easy. I don't have magnets, so that's cool. These are just little squares. Pictures, images, whatever you want. Those will be fun to test. So I'm gonna leave one out for everything so we can make one of everything. Stainless steel tumblers, 2-pack, okay. Also, if you're getting into the printing world, now I have a video where I talk about a lot of places where I source like laserable suppliers, but a lot of that stuff is also print suppliers. These are cute. I like these. I haven't seen this style before. I guess we'll leave that out too. And a straw. Comes with a stainless steel straw, which is nice. Okay. Skinny tumblers. Oh. Okay, thank you, EufyMake. Now I have tumblers for my kids because school is starting soon. And it goes like that. Okay. We'll give this one a... Although when you say skinny tumbler, I don't think of the ones that have like a thermos type of feel. I think of like wedding skinny tumblers that are really dainty for bridesmaids. What do we got? Travel mugs. I think that's nice. Okay, we will make a travel mug. We're gonna make all the things. I hope you're ready. It's a wood art pack. Okay, which is a nice sized sign. Oh, that's very nice. Okay. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna take these out of the box. And, okay, it's nice. If you wanna stain it and do pretty things with it, I guess we'll figure out what we're gonna do with them. Let's see. EufyMake iPhone case, more iPhone cases. I got a lot of iPhone cases to sell, don't I? Okay. Let's see. And then there's another wall art sign here, which is, oh my goodness. They send a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, that is a very nice experience when you're getting a new piece of equipment. Because, you know, you're like, what am I gonna make? Like a lot of times you know what you wanna make, but there's an overwhelm because there's so many things that you want to make, right? So it is very nice that they're including a lot of things to test and experiment with, because let me tell you, it is not fun. It's part of the process. It's the part of doing business and getting new equipment, but it is not fun wasting materials when you're learning, although it is a necessary evil, right? So I'd rather waste on my test pieces than, you know, other stuff. Okay, what is this? I should have been helpful. Oh, metal wall art 2-pack. So it's a metal sign. And they provide you with, it looks like, I don't know, this and then some kind of adhesive that is magnetic. It feels like it's like stuck. Mine is, yeah, some kind of, it's got 3M double-sided adhesive on the back, which is very strong stuff. All right, I don't know what we're gonna make with those, but we will make the things. We also have standard adhesive mat. Okay, probably to put sticky stuff on. I don't really use adhesive mats up until now, but I guess that's gonna change. And then we have a larger one, I think. Standard adhesive mat, 5-pack. Okay, we will see what the adhesive mats are for, my friends. And then UV DTF a film. Okay, I'm guessing this is to make UV DTF stickers. UV DTF stickers, I think. We will find out together. Okay, the unboxing is done. We can finally go ahead and set up this thing. And I'm gonna tell you this right off the bat. Okay, you see this right here? This right here to me screams beginner-friendly, plug-and-play type of equipment. Okay, because if you are used to getting, or if you're familiar with it at all, for getting like production-grade equipment, it is not presented to you in a, you know, picture format with step-by-step. Like this just screams beginner friendly in the best way. I mean that in a good way. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and follow the steps until we get to the part where we have to set it up on the phone. Originally, my plan was to show you how to set up the app, but because I'm a beta tester, I have to do that a little differently. So we're just gonna skip that part and move on to adding the inks to the printer. Then close the cover, protective foam. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so we're gonna take out these empty ink cartridges that are just placeholders. You're gonna push down and they'll pop up just like that. And each one is gonna say, you know, it'll tell you the color that it's supposed to be, but you don't have to keep those in place because there's also gonna be indicators inside so you can put the ink in the correct slot. So it just turned green and I heard it click. So click and green, good. All right, so I want to go ahead and show you just how simple it is to run your first print, okay? I'm going to begin by setting up my image in Canva. Now, typically I would do this in Adobe Illustrator, but I really wanted to make sure that I used a software or a program that everybody can have access to, and Canva is free and it's very easy and user-friendly. So here I have one of the designs from my file club, and this was part of my flower press collection. So it says, in a field of roses, be a wildflower. Okay. So I have saved this image as a PNG. You can save it as a PDF. You can save it as an SVG. What's nice about the EufyMake Studio is that it accepts a bunch of different file types. Either way, you want to make sure you get your image and export it, and preferably that it has high resolution. Okay. So now that I have my image, I'm going to hop over to the EufyMake Studio. This is what, you'll see when you log in. And I'm going to go to right here, the plus sign, and I'm going to start a new canvas. Okay. And it already knows that I have my small bed inside the EufyMake, or at least that's the way that it's set up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iPhone 16 case and I'm going to go ahead and lay it onto the bed on the EufyMake. All right, so now that we're back here, I'm just going to click on Snapshot. And it's going to take about 90 seconds or so, and it's going to read, it's going to take a snapshot of the small bed. Okay, so we'll give it a minute. You see here it says half measuring the height. So it's also right now measuring the height of the iPhone case. All right, so for those of you coming from the laser world, it's kind of like it's getting into focus, right? With this, the substrate that you've put into the printer. Okay, so that's what it's doing, measuring the head height. And then once it's done, it'll show up on the screen and then we can add our image to it. Okay, so there's the snapshot and there's our image. Now I can head on over to upload and I can upload my image. You can see I've already been working on some other things there. Those are for future tutorials, okay? Here we go. Be a wildflower. I'm gonna load it. And now I need to rotate it, right? So that it prints in the proper direction. Now I could just use this and rotate it, but you can see there's room for human error here, my friends. I don't know if I can get spot on to 270 right there, right? So instead I'm gonna undo that and I'm gonna come right here and I'm gonna put in the amount that I need to rotate. I'm not doing 90, I'm not doing 180, I'm doing 270, right? So enter, and there it went ahead and it rotated it for me. Perfect. Now, what if it wasn't aligned? Or maybe, what if I want to make it a little smaller? Now, when I try to move things around, you can see it kind of jumps way too much. So if I want to adjust things, I have found that I prefer using the arrow keys on my keyboard. Okay, but that actually looks pretty centered, my friend. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to click on my image, and you're going to notice over here I have the ink mode that I can choose. So every time you print on anything that isn't white, you're going to want to use a white layer underneath so that the image pops. Otherwise, it's kind of like see-through if you only print the CMYK layer, which is the color layer. So I've got a couple of options. I can do a white layer with the CMYK. I can do just the CMYK. I'd like to see what it looks like with a white layer, then the color layer, the CMYK, and then the gloss layer. So that's what I'm going to choose. And then when I click off of the image, you're going to see here, I've already got it set to plastic, but this is kind of cool that they show you materials and it'll give you default settings for those materials, which is, that's uncommon, or at least as far as I know, that's not a thing in the UV printing world. So I'm going to set it to plastic, and you can select the quality also. So quality is going to be standard. If I want it even brighter, I can click on high quality, but that's going to use more ink too. Okay, so I have found that the standard quality is fine so far with the projects that I've been using. So that's what we're going to do. So that's it. We've got our image ready. We've got it centered on our device here, or on our blank, so to speak. And now all you have to do is push print. That's pretty simple. It doesn't get any simpler than that, my friends. One more thing I want to show you though is if I click on the image and I go back to ink mode, you can also add texture. Now this I think is a big deal, because learning how to add texture outside of this very simple software is not an easy thing to do. It is a process to learn and figure out and identify each color layer and let the software know how many layers you want on that color so that it creates that dimension. Look at this. Okay, I can click on pattern texture and it's going to give me a 3D rendering of what it would look like. That blows my mind, because learning how to do that outside of, this is a click of a button, my friends. That's a big deal. So that's really cool. If I want relief texture, let's see what that looks like. As you can see, it takes a minute to generate, all right? But seriously, click of a button, what? That looks like it's getting even more, wow, let's zoom in there. That's unheard of, guys. The click of a button? No, it's like a whole lesson and like weeks of mastering to do this outside of this little platform here. That's pretty impressive. I'm just gonna do a flat layer, but I wanna point that out to you because that's a big deal to me, okay? So I'm gonna undo anything that happened here. There we go. Now we're ready to print. It's that simple. So that's it. Let's go ahead and push print. Now it's going to send over the file. It's going to take a minute and then we'll be done. I'm just blown away by how simple it is. I really am. After you push start, then the layout will change and it'll look like this. It's going to show you what percentage of the print it has gone through. And then at the end of the print, it'll show you how long it took. All right, we're at 95%. We're almost done. It's been a couple of minutes. A tip for the future, though, it is more efficient to do several at the same time because it's the same travel time, relatively, for the print head, whether you've got one thing on the print, on the print bed or two. All right, it looks like it's ready, so I'm gonna go grab it. All right, so that was it, our first print. It was so simple. You took the item, you put it on the bed, took a picture, lined it up, and you were good to go. Now, in the future, I am gonna be coming back with tutorials on how to work with jigs, how to design in the software so that, when things get a little more complex. So for example, let's say I wanted to create a pattern around the whole image, but I don't want print in this little area where the camera is. That's more of like a design thing that you have to do. And if you want to learn how to do that kind of stuff, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because it's definitely coming in the future. So now I can go ahead and let them know. How did I like the print quality? Mom says it's pretty freaking good, my friend, so I'm going to give it 5 stars. I am not going to publish this because if I do that, I think this makes it available to everybody. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like anybody could publish a design that they don't even have the rights to without checks and balances in there. So I'm staying away from the publish button until that stuff is kind of clarified. And I'm going to go ahead and finish my project. And I'm done. So easy. Oops, one more thing. I forgot to point out to you that at the end, it shows you how long it took to print. So that image was just a couple of inches, maybe 2 by 2. It took 16 minutes to print. Okay. And this is why I mentioned earlier, it's more efficient to print several things at the same time because it might be 16 minutes to print a 2 by 2 image on one item, but it might be, 18 minutes to print that same image on 4 items. Like the time won't vary as much when you add more things to the bed. I hope that makes sense. So just keep that in mind for the future. So take this, for example, right here. Okay, notice there's no bleeding around the edges, all right? There's no white border, even though we have placed white underneath to help it pop more. The edges are super clean, and the color looks really good. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when I say that this is really great quality for the ease of use and price point of this. So let's look at some more. Here we go with the ceramic coasters and the magnets. Very bright pop of color. You see the sheen? That's a gloss that I added to it. Okay, looks great. Here's a tumbler that I did. Not bad at all. Okay, so I noticed that of all the blanks that were sent to me, they were all either white, which is easy to get a nice bright color on, clear, or light. Okay, so for the sake of showing you the quality, I also want to show you how a print would look on something darker, like a black hat patch, for example. I threw in a brown one and a pink one. These were not from EufyMake. I just had these in stock. They happen to be from thelaseroutpost.com. So let's go ahead and print and see what the quality looks like on something darker, okay? I should also note that they do provide you with these sticky mats, okay? And I'm assuming, you know, this is their solution to the fact that there's no vacuum table, all right? It seems okay, but as you can see here, the sticky is not very sticky, and my little hat patch is slightly curved, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue, so I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to use my favorite trick, and that is the painter's tape trick. This is a very common thing in both the laser world and the print world, to use painter's tape to help you level items, for example, like these hat patches. So I'm just going to lay them down. They look pretty straight to me. And that's going to help keep it flush so that we can print on them successfully. So if you are waiting for your printer, grab yourself some painter's tape. People were asking me what size. I use both. I use the 2-inch painter's tape and I use the 1-inch. The 1-inch is better for thinner things like this, but if I'm trying to tape down a journal, for example, then having thicker tape is going to be helpful. So I'm going to place these down on here, tape them down so they're nice and level, and do a snapshot and run a print. Let's get out of there and run a new snapshot. And here we go. Let's see. It's pretty bright in here. They have a really nice light, but that looks pretty awesome. We've got the blue on the black, also looking very good. And a nice pretty purple on the pink here. So these are just little patches. They have adhesive on the back. So, you know, you can iron them onto a backpack, a lunchbox for school, whatever. But I just wanted to show you and test, really, how well is it going to do on a dark color. And sorry, I know the lighting in here isn't the best, but I would say, my friends, that that's pretty passable. Wouldn't you? So, again, driving home my point that you can get pretty good quality with this little fabulous printer. Now that I have shown you some of its merits, let's go ahead and talk about its limitations. And when I say limitations, I really mean let's talk about the things that I'm excited about that are coming in the future. Because remember, this is a Kickstarter campaign. A lot of you have invested in the foundation, which means you're also agreeing to be part of its evolution. Limitation number one, of course, is speed. I feel like this is very much the equivalent of when the Glowforge came out, the Glowforge Kickstarter came out, and all these people invested in it because they were very excited that there was finally an easy to use, plug and play laser that was affordable, right? And they were so in awe of it. And they also didn't have anything to compare it to. So when it showed up and it cut and engraved, it just felt like a dream. What they didn't know was how slow and inefficient it was, right? And that's okay, because once their businesses started to boom, then they had to, you know, upgrade or buy more Glowforges, right? Okay, I feel like that's the scenario here. If you've never printed before, the print time is going to be like amazing to you. And it is. For roughly $25,000 in savings, I would say the print time is pretty spot on. Another limitation is the fact that the rotary doesn't have that snapshot feature with the camera that I showed you, earlier. I don't think that that's a big deal. It's actually pretty easy the way that they've set it up for you to accurately place your image on the cup without the camera. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that comes down, later on in the future. The biggest letdown for me is actually something that thankfully when I brought it up to them, they told me they were already on top of and will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And that is the fact that you can't currently import your images to scale. If you don't have a laser, that's not a big deal. But if you want to do print and cut, meaning you want to print on a sheet of acrylic or wood and then take it to your laser and perfectly cut around that shape, that's pretty hard to do right now because you can't import the images to scale. So while it was a big bummer for me, I was relieved to hear that they already knew about it and that it's, again, a feature that's coming down the road. So if we're patient, it will be here soon enough. And in the meantime, there are workarounds that I'm happy to show you if you subscribe for future content. And then lastly, of the limitations, you have to be ready for things to just not print properly, okay? And that's not something that's going to be exclusive to just the EufyMake. This can happen with any UV printer. Okay, so for example, when I was like deep into testing, I did like 18 prints, and of those 18 prints, 2 were bad and 1 was like off, and I'll show you what I mean. And that could have been user error. I'm not really sure what went wrong, but that's not uncommon in the printing world. I don't really know what was wrong, but I will say this, what was cool is that you can log your printing experience immediately and report it back to them in the software. So at the end of your print, it asks you how did it turn out, and you can like basically submit information to them so that they can troubleshoot things for you. And the fact that that's like integrated and I don't have to stop and make a phone call and ask somebody what's up, that's kind of cool, okay? So I just, word of caution here, printers, all machines really, they're finicky. They can have their moments, all right? But I would say that that's a pretty good percentage. Out of 18, I really only had 3 that didn't turn out perfect. And again, like I said, I don't really know what caused that to happen because then I ran other prints and it was fine, but that's just not uncommon. Like that can happen with any printer. All right, so I've shown you the ones that turned out great. Let me show you some of the ones that didn't. This was a print that I did. It was one print, okay? And it was supposed to be a bright yellow, but I got kind of like a mustardy color and it was black at the bottom. I don't know what happened there. And then this one was obviously not what I was going for, right? And there was a splotch. So I don't know if it was user error. I don't know what I did, but I tried remeasuring and then I redid it with these, which actually turned out really good. But you'll notice there is inconsistency in the color. So this is like a lighter one, this is a darker one. Now, if they weren't sisters, I would give this to Sophie and she would not know the difference. And same thing with Chloe. But, if I give it to them together, they'll see that the colors were different. So that is not typical of what I've been experiencing. So far, the colors have been consistent. This was just a guess a day that my EufyMake was being temperamental. But I went ahead and I reported it immediately in the software to, make sure tech support knows about it. Now, when I was testing my cups, I tried an SVG. It didn't like the SVG, okay? But every time I've done a PNG, it's turned out great. So I think it was the file type that it didn't like rather than something with the printer, okay?
There was one attempt where it did this random thing, and I don't even know why. Again, it could be user error. But these two were the most noticeable. This one print that I did at the same time, this print, were the most noticeable. These I feel like I could totally pull off and get away with, especially if they went to separate customers, okay? But there you go. Real world experiences that are not exclusive just to this printer. This can happen to anybody on any printer, just FYI. All right? So, there you go. I've been having a ton of fun, and I hope you are learning a lot with me today.
Then, of course, there is the cost of the consumables. And quite frankly, that's where UV printing companies make their money. All right, so if you are not prepared or, okay with having to constantly buy ink, then UV printing is not for you, okay? Stop watching this video. Although you've made it practically to the end, so maybe you might want to stick around. That said, the cost per ink here with the EufyMake, it kind of falls like in the middle. It's not the cheapest ink on the market, but it's also not the most expensive ink on the market. Again, I think for the price point of the printer itself, everything seems pretty fair to me. Oh, and there's also the fact that the ink has a shelf life of a year, whereas most UV printing ink expires in about 6 months. The bottom line is, I think the cost of the ink is reasonable for the industry, and the fact that it has a longer shelf life means you have more time to use what you buy. Quite frankly, I see way more positives than I do negatives. Well, my friends, if you made it this far, then I hope it's because I provided a ton of value for you in this video. This printer is made for the everyday maker, the curious crafter, and the serious side hustler who wants to get into UV printing without drowning in support tickets. It's not for everyone, but if you're looking for something that is beginner-friendly, approachable, and powerful, well then, look no further. The EufyMake has answered that question for you. With that said, don't forget to grab the free jigs that I am providing for you. Just click on the link below and I'll send them right over to you. And if you enjoyed this video, pretty please subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notifications every time I have a new video. I am wishing you every success in your journey, and I look forward to seeing you here soon over at That Mom with a laser and a UV printer. Bye guys.